Wow, it actually worked the first time I tried it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get this set up right. Let's go ahead and share it. Okay. Looks like everything's working. Hi, Joyce. Let me know if you can hear me. Hi, Beth. Okay, this was literally done, I don't know, 45 minutes ago or something. Let me copy this and put it in the group. It's been, life is crazy. It's been a weekend. We had a funeral today. So I've been at the church since about 7:45, and I taught lessons from 8:30 to 10:30. And then we had a funeral. People were here at 10:30. So we had a funeral. We just wrapped that up. And I still didn't have my topic picked out or my outline done at 2:00. And so Heidi and Gina, my friends here helping me, they were like, go, we've got the rest of it. Just go in the office and figure it out. So I came in here, and this actually was spurred by a post that was done in the Gently Led Sisters group. That's how I get a lot of my ideas, is through the Gently Led Sisters group, maybe questions that are asked. Hi, Alyssa. Maybe questions that are asked, different things that are done, different things that are talked about in the Gently Led Sisters group. And this was a question that someone did. So let me read the question, and then you can figure out why I based my whole topic off of this. So she asked, moms who have raised kids between ages of 4 through 9, have any of you ladies handled a situation, and how do you handle it when other adults push a child's infatuation, for lack of better words, because it's not friendliness we're experienced, it goes beyond that masked as friendliness, on your child? How do you teach your child to respond? I can't always just remove her from situations because they just happen again in new forms. Here's an example. My child is feeling smothered by excess attention. She knows how to verbalize with kids like, I don't like that, please stop. I have stepped in to be assertive as well. Or at the grocery store, an adult asking a child, do you have a boyfriend? Or a statement or comment along those lines. So I thought this would be a good topic, talking about friendship. And then how do you navigate friendships when they're younger with members of the opposite sex? So I responded to her, this topic is actually important for me because we don't play the dating game until my kids are at least 18. So I constantly talk to my girls about it, and I tell them it's okay to be friends with those of the opposite sex, but we don't do this whole so-and-so like so-and-so and so on. I want my kids to be kids. They will have time for relationships when they are officially adults, and kids and teens can't handle the emotional and mental parts of having a serious relationship. I would talk to the parents of whatever child is doing it. And I've had to kind of do this before, not so much. I think everyone pretty much has known my position on this in the churches that we've been at. And while occasionally it could happen, for the most part, girls and guys, little girls and little boys around here get along pretty well with each other without a lot of the teasing stuff that goes on. So I think that's pretty good here. But I said, just explained, I don't mind if our kids are friends in a group setting, but I don't want your son to show my daughter more attention than the other girls. We are waiting to date until she is mentally and emotionally ready, and right now is not that time. If someone in the store asks that, just laugh and say, no, she is far too young. We want her to be having fun as a kid, not worrying about a boyfriend. This is a topic I wish I could shout from the housetops. Let your kids be kids. They don't need the stress that comes from worrying about boys all the time, or vice versa, about boys worrying about girls all the time. So I thought I would do one about just teaching your children how to navigate friendships, and then maybe talk on the whole aspect too of how to teach your children how to navigate friendships, even when it comes to members of the opposite sex. So that's kind of what spurred it. I wrote up a quick outline. This might be shorter today, but that's okay. Look for a giveaway. I totally forgot about the giveaway. This is how busy I've been. I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot about the giveaway that I was supposed to do. So Mrs. Angie Heil's book, I am giving that away this week. So I'm going to assign all of you numbers, hopefully today, on the comments. Look for my short. If you have not entered the giveaway, you can go ahead and do that today until it's closed, until I actually draw the name. I'm going to assign a number to every comment that's left. So it's on my shorts, my newest short, because I've totally slacked into doing shorts too, because my life is insane. Eventually I'm going to get back to that. But it's my latest short where I talk about the giveaway for the book that Mrs. Angie Hiles wrote. I will try to get that name drawn tonight in the random number generator. So if you have not entered for that, go enter for it. And I'll be doing that. I will also be premiering the talk that I did on Mrs. Jen Bay's channel. And if you just type in the Bay Home, Bay is B-E-H. So the Bay Home into YouTube. I had a really nice discussion with her about raising teens to adults. Now that I've gotten almost all my half of my kids almost all the way through, I feel like I have a little bit of experience, not a ton, but a little bit. So I'm ready to talk about that aspect of it. I mean, my oldest was only 16 when I started this channel. So when I first started this channel, I had not yet raised one to adulthood. So I didn't feel comfortable or capable enough to talk about it at that time, but I have a little bit more experience now. So head over to her channel if you want to watch it. I'm going to be premiering it on my channel this week sometime. I wanted to just stay up there and subscribe to her. She has a lot of good content. She is a naturalist. She is a home birther. So she's got a lot of content that a lot of you might be interested in. So anyway, so I am going to get into the subject now. Oh, thank you, Beth. This is my dirty hair day. It's just a messy bun. It literally took 5 minutes. So this is just, you can make anything look fancy with a cute headband and earrings, right? So it's just thrown up into a messy bun. Because I had to get up so early this morning. So I left the house by 7:30. So that might not be early for you, but that's early for me. I'm not a very good morning person. So let's talk about teaching your children how to navigate friendships. Friendships are very important to me and my family. In fact, my best friend and I have been best friends now for 30 years. I know we're going to be until we're both in heaven. Friendships can go through phases. They can go through highs and lows, just like marriages, but they all take work. How do we teach our children to form lasting friendships? My son just got married and he had 2 friends in his wedding who have been friends his whole life. So how that happened is his mom and I became friends when they were very little. Like, I think we were always like pregnant, like back to back. So we were having like I would have a kid, she would have a kid. I would have a kid, she would have a kid. I would have a kid. And she has 2. She had 2 when we became friends. I don't think I had any. I think they moved to LaSalle when I had the first year that my husband and I got married. But then within 9 months, I had a baby. So I started having kids right off the bat. And then, so I was pregnant, she was pregnant. I was pregnant, she was pregnant, almost back to back to back. And actually one of her daughters is also one of Abigail's best friends as well. So they've been best friends their entire lives. And then Abigail, her friends, a couple of her closest friends, they've been best friends their entire lives. So it's really important in our family. Friendships are important. And so we've tried to show our kids how to have good friendships and lasting friendships. And there are some things that we did as parents to show them how to have those successful, long-lasting friendships. So I think number one, we definitely modeled it for them. One of the main things that you can model to your kids is just accepting your own friends, flaws and all, because we have them as well. I know this is very important for me. I crave loyalty in friendships. I crave honesty in friendships. And so I try to be that for other people. I also invest a lot of time into friendships. So I take it very seriously. And so there is, we've always tried to model it for our kids. And that comes with, when I say accepting your friends' flaws and all, most of my friends tend to be saved people. They tend to be Christians, because when you don't have that foundation, it's really hard to build off of that. I do have friendships with those that aren't Christians. I would say, like more of acquaintances type things. We do get along. I can get along. You don't have to be a Christian for me to get along with you. But obviously, as a Christian, you're going to have more in common, and I tend to just like people for the most part. And I like to get to know people, and I like to figure out their personalities and what makes them click and things like that. But when I say accepting, that doesn't mean that you have to accept sin or you have to even go along or condone the sin in their life. But I just mean you don't nitpick, you're not constantly pointing out the flaws in your friends. You're not talking bad about them. And I don't know why anyone would talk bad about their friend anyways, but you're not talking bad about your friends and you love them despite the fact that they mess up sometimes or they stumble or they falter or whatever. And so we really try to model that to our kids. I think part of that is just loving someone for who they are, not expecting them to be any different than their personality, not expecting someone who's quiet to be, really outgoing. I have a lot of female friends that are complete opposites of me. And it's not a requirement to be my friend that you have to be an extrovert. In fact, I feel like I attract more introverted friends. I think I make up for both of us. And, taking time for our friendships, we try to really model that for our kids. Friendships are important to me. And so I do take time for that, every year since the time my boys started football camp. So that's when we started this tradition of going to my best friend's house for a week out of the summer. They were 12, maybe. So for the last 9 years, almost 10 years, we have been going to my best friend's house for a week out of the summer. And my kids just know we're going to Erica's this summer. And they know that I take time for her. And then for my birthday, all I really wanted to do was go spend a couple days with her home. So quality time is like my love language. So that's one of the ways that I show my love to my friends is time. And then just be forgiving because, our friends are going to mess up. We're going to mess up. But we have to show that forgiveness to our kids. They have to see that modeled in our life. Another thing we've done with most of our friends, we try to only see the good in other people. And I think a lot of this has to do with, I've seen some of the most judgmental people in the world that have some of the darkest, deepest secrets or skeletons in their closet. And I really don't understand that philosophy because in the Bible, it talks about the woman that was forgiven much. And so she loved much. And I would think that as Christians should be our attitude. We have been forgiven of much. So I don't know why the lights are blinking. Hopefully I don't lose power. So as Christians, we have been forgiven much. So we should love much as well. Oh, look, it's Be Real. If you have the app Be Real, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I have to take a picture of doing the podcast and it's going to be live. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on. But as Christians, we have been forgiven of much. And so I don't understand this whole concept of some of the ones that have the biggest, darkest secrets in their past are the most judgmental and hateful towards other people. So with our friends, we try to only see the good parts of them. We all have bad parts of our personality. We all have good parts of our personality, but I try to see the good in our friends and then just not talking bad, which I already talked about. But, it's counterproductive to friendships to be talking bad about them. So I don't understand those that would talk bad. Is it shame? I do, Joyce. I think it might be shame. I think they're overcompensating because hello, Sarah, if I am really hardcore in this area and I am just blasting everyone from the rooftops that has these maybe public sins, okay? So maybe it's a very public sin. And if I am just on blast and just condemning them, it's going to make me look more spiritual than I am. But I've seen some people that have very innocent pasts, maybe that kept themselves pure until they got married. They don't have any sexual sin in their past. And yet they have a lot more grace towards people that fall in that area than those who lived terrible lives in their past, were very promiscuous and, had multiple partners. But then after they get saved and they clean up their life a bit, then I've seen them show more hatred towards people that mess up in that area than those who have a pristine past. So I think a lot of it might be shame. A lot of times too, just overcompensating. And my husband preached a really good message. You can check it out from last night about hypocrisy. And he covered this topic very, very well about why people go over the top. And most of the time it is because it's fake or they're playing a part, and they think this is the way I'm supposed to act or this is what I'm supposed to do. So thank you. I love it when Beth is in the chat because she always puts the verses. And a lot of times these verses will come to mind, but I can't say them exactly like the King James. So I'm glad when she puts the verse. And she put Luke 7:47, wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much, but to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. And so I would think that that verse would describe a lot of Christians, but it's actually swapped in a lot of Christians' life. A lot of times those who are forgiven much, according to the world standards, according to our standards, I know every sin is bad, and anyone who has their sins forgiven and gets the gift of eternal life, that is a lot forgiven. But a lot of times those who have been forgiven much are the harshest towards other people. So I don't really understand that mentality, but our kids need to see us talking good about other people, uplifting the positive things about them, not nitpicking the bad, because how we judge other people too is going to be how we're judged. And so if we want to raise kids that hate everyone, then by all means, go ahead and nitpick all your friends, nitpick all their faults, but you have them too. So get the mote out of your own eye, right? And then just loving our friends at all times. So how can our children gain friends? I've heard this a lot. And one of the main, I will say planting a church is really hard. Okay. And when we first planted the church, we just kept telling our kids, because they were the only kids for a really long time. And we kept telling them, there's going to be kids that come. There's going to be kids that come. There's going to be kids that come. Well, for my older ones, that never really happened. And so they didn't really, they had a lot of older friends, and the ones that they would see periodically that they grew up with. Maybe that's one of the reasons they stayed friends with them so long. But they had a lot of older friends, and they had a lot of adults as friends, and they had a lot of young adults as friends because they were the ones in the church. Now, I do think that enabled them to learn how to talk to all age groups, talk to women in their 90s and talk to people in their 60s and talk to people in their 20s. And, that really enabled them to learn how to talk to all age groups, which was nice. But you have to be consistent in whatever you do. So get into a Baptist church. Of course, I'm going to push Baptist because I think Baptists are the most, they're the most correct when it comes to fundamentals of the faith. So if you have a Baptist church around you, please get into it. And then you have to be consistent. You have to stay for years. You can't just flop out of church, and you cannot continually go from church to church for your kids to establish good friendships. And I will say, from about the age 9 to 16, those are such important formative years in your kid. And it breaks my heart when we've had families come through here with kids that age, and the kids get friends here and they're really invested in the church, and they love my husband as the pastor, and they love the other kids. And then their parents get upset about something. It's usually trivial. It's usually not even doctrinal. They get upset about something and they leave and they go to another church. So then they go to the other church and their kids start getting friendships there, and they really become involved there. And then something makes them mad and they leave. They go to another church. I saw this process repeat over and over and over. I've seen it repeat over and over and over since I got into the ministry 21 years ago. So you have to be in a church. You have to stay for years. Don't flop out. Be around. If there's activities around, be around. If people are staying on Sunday and soul winning and eating, stay around. Get involved. Eat. It's not hard to sit around and eat a meal and fellowship with others. That's how we get to know each other. That's how your kids can get to know other kids. That's how they can play with other kids. Go soul winning. If there's family soul winning days, get involved in that. If there's church work days, get involved in that. Whatever it is, be around, be involved. Also have people over, be hospitable. Be willing to ask someone over for a barbecue, have a picnic, go to the park, do activities with each other. And I mean, our church is pretty good. We're on each other all the time. So none of my church ladies They all know this is what we do. This is our life, but it's so neat seeing our kids grow up together. And I just saw a picture of Zeke and Kelly. They were eating next to each other. They both did baby led weaning. And they were like, what were they, Julia, in the picture? Like 9 months old or something. It was so cute. And they've grown up together, so they know each other. And it's super cute too when you see the dynamics of different friendships, because Kelly is really close to Juju. Okay, I say close, but they're hilarious because they either are like getting along great or they're like, I'm never going to be your friend again. And Nicole and I are just rolling our eyes and we're like, we're going to let them just work it out. We try not to get involved very much because they need to learn to work this stuff out already. They're hilarious. But if Juju's not here and Zeke is, then Kelly and Zeke are playing together. And, and then just yesterday, it was so cute. I could not believe they both made it through the whole Sunday school. But in Sunday school, in the very back pew, I look back there and Emma and Hannah are sitting next to each other. And Emma and Hannah are very much alike. And they're very sassy little girls with little attitudes. And they are feisty, both of them. And I was like, oh, how is this going to play out? Because Hannah had a coloring book and Emma had a little toy. And so what they would do is Hannah would be like, can I have the toy? And Emma would say, and they would trade. So then Emma would have the coloring book and Hannah would have the little toy. And then I'd look back and they would have traded again. So they just kept trading, but they sat for 40 minutes by each other. It was so cute just seeing a little bit of friendship start blooming, where usually they're like fighting with each other. Now they're actually getting along and playing with each other. And so you don't get that when you jump from church to church to church. Friendships take years to develop. Friendships take years of work and getting to know a person and, your kids growing up together. And I hope that some of my kids here have friendships that last their whole life, like my older kids do, with the friends that they were around. So be friendly. Teach your children to be friendly. So teach them to be approachable, teach them how to talk with others. And this has always been really important for me because we did start the church. Our children had to learn sometimes, we started with just our family. And so a lot of times when we had visitors, our family was the only one welcoming them, talking to them. And so my kids learned from a really early age to go up to new people, introduce themselves, just talk to them, etc. So how can we teach our kids about friendship? Well, number one, all of us moms here, we're striving to teach our toddlers not to fight. And it's hard because one of them will find a doll and then they'll all want the doll and then, whatever. So we're trying to teach them how to share. We're trying to teach our toddlers how not to fight. And as they start getting older, we can start teaching them how to patch over their issues. And there will be issues. Listen, we have a lot of kids here. We're here the whole day on Sunday. They're going to get tired. They're going to get cranky. They're going to be hungry and they're going to mess up. We've got little toddlers that have only been alive for 2 years. Okay. So they have not been around very long. They're having to be taught all of these social skills and, how to get along with other people. So there's going to be times when there's little tiffs and little fights. I try not to freak out about it because it's just going to happen. So instead, I try to teach them how to navigate through that situation. Sometimes now I will say, okay, well, I will put this disclaimer out there. If it comes down to someone physically going after my child, I will intervene in that. I will separate them. I've had to tell, like, if it comes to a boy, like hitting one of my girls or, getting involved, I'll tell them, no, you need to stop. And then I'll let the parent know, that's a different situation. I'm talking about verbally. If they're just getting into a verbal argument, it would be good to tell them, you need to figure out how to navigate this and you need to figure out how to fix this. And one thing that my husband and I have always tried to do is we've tried not to step in too early with different situations that pop up, because as adults, you're also going to learn how to navigate. You're going to have to learn how to navigate disagreements and arguments with other adults. And so it's a skill that I want my younger kids to learn from the get-go, is learn how to navigate. That's a good thing, Sarah. She said taking initiative to be the one to connect started in Sunday school as a teenager, inviting new people to sit with us. It's always good because when new people come into a situation they're not familiar with, it's obviously very daunting. And I've tried to have my kids like be the first one to approach them because the new people are in a new situation. My kids, this is like old, old to them. So I'll try to get them to go and to reach out to them, talk to them, introduce, ask if they want to sit with them. And a lot of times they've connected really well with ones that have come in. And when there's that connection, people are longing for a connection. Everyone wants a connection. So when you've established that, people feel like they're loved, they feel like they're wanted, they feel like a part of the church family. It's called a church family for a reason. There is a connection there. Obviously, Jesus is the main connection that we have, but it should be love and friendship and all that. So, teach them how to forgive. And this is, this can go along with teaching them to navigate difficulties that pop up. Well, then when those difficulties have been made right, teaching them to forgive when that person apologizes, not holding a grudge, not continually bringing it up all the time, because there's been times that they've done the same thing to that other person. And then don't freak out when they have problems with other kids, but allow them to work it out. And that's something I said that we try to do. We try not to interfere if they are trying to work them out. Like I said, one of the only times I will is if there's physical stuff involved. And then teach them to welcome new kids into the church. Sarah kind of touched on this. And then teach them to play with everyone. And, not exclude people, not spend all this attention on this person while being mean to this girl. It's this clique mentality happens in a lot of churches. I did not know that, Julia. I'm surprised you were. This clique mentality happens, and I really don't like cliques. They're harmful and they're hurtful to other people, to other girls. I try to kind of float. Obviously there's going to be people that you connect more with in church. I'm not talking about that. There's obviously women that you're going to have the same background, maybe the same way you live life. You're obviously, if I probably am not going to click with a woman that comes in that's like all gung-ho on the jabs and, I don't know, sends your kids to the public school and I don't know, has a job working as a left-wing activist. I'm obviously not going to click with that woman as much as the one that's coming that's more naturally minded, homeschools, loves the Lord, kind of sees through the truth a lot of in the media and all that stuff. Obviously, I'm not talking about that, but we should do our best to be welcoming to every lady in the church, to every new person that comes. And that's easy to do if, the new people that come, if you don't have a chip on your shoulder, it's really hard when someone gets offended. I don't know if anyone is in the chat that can put the verse about a brother offended is harder to win than a strong city or whatever that is. It's a very true verse. When people get offended, they get a chip on their shoulder. When that chip is on their shoulder, then you know it. I've been a pastor's wife for 21 years. I know 22 years. I know it's coming. They start missing church and then they miss more and more church. And then they're sick every week. And there's always some excuse like my kids are sick. I'm sick. I don't know. Excuses pile up. And then before you know it, it's been weeks, it's been months. They won't tell you what's wrong, but something's wrong. And so then you're always second guessing yourself. Was it me? Did I do something? All these thoughts going through your head, but you don't want to like go up and be like, hey, are you mad at me? Because that's just weird, right? I don't think I would mind doing that. That's what I want to do sometimes. But you also can't chase people down over a little thing, especially if you have not intentionally caused them hurt or done that to someone. So I don't know. That's just the progression. So by the time people get that chip on their shoulder, there's already been damage and it's really hard to win them back. It's really hard to win their heart back. So I would prefer just not letting it get there. I'm very perceptive when it comes to people. I can sense when something's wrong. I can sense when the spirit's off. And I can't help but think, because it's happened before, that is it my fault? Like, did I do something? And so I'm very hyper vigilant when it comes to that. And it's just better if you take care of small problems when they start. So even in friendships, if there's a small problem with me and my friend, if I feel like she hurt me some way, I'll just tell her, be like, listen, that was kind of hurtful that you said that. That hurt my feelings. Why aren't we just more open with people about the way we feel? Why is it so hard for us to tell one of our friends that you hurt my feelings? It's a lot easier. Sometimes it's miscommunication. Sometimes your friend is having a bad day and she just said something off the cuff and didn't realize that you were going to take it that way. It's a lot easier to address small problems, and teach your kids that too. Don't let the problem build, because offenses will build. It's just human nature. It's what we do. We let offenses build and build and build, and then they explode. So thank you. Beth, she said, a brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. And Proverbs is true. There's so many good Proverbs, and that is true. It starts with a little offense that doesn't get taken care of. It becomes a chip on the shoulder. Then suddenly that's their reason to miss. Then suddenly it's all your fault that they're out of church and their lives are a wreck and their lives are falling apart, and you didn't even know you did anything. That's just how it goes. So I'm urging all of you women, if you're in a church, get the small problems taken care of quickly so that they don't build to that. And if you feel yourself getting a chip on the shoulder, talk to someone about it. If someone offended you, talk to them about it. Talk to them. It's so easy. And then Angeli said, what would you do if you felt someone was a bad influence on either you or your family? Would you keep them at arm's length or interact with them as much as everyone else? If it was in a church, I would be pleasant to them, and I would talk with them in church. I would try to spend as equal time with them as I would with anyone else. I probably would not be close to them in the sense that I would have them over all the time. I wouldn't be texting them all the time. There have been toxic people that have come through that I have seen having a negative impact on me, on my spirit. They're in my dreams. They're affecting my children. They're affecting our home life. And I've had to kind of cut that off because my family comes first. So, but if they're in the church, I would be pleasant at church, and I would just get along with them. I would just force myself to get along with them. But then I just probably wouldn't be close to them outside of church. That's what I would do. So Julia said, if someone is acting mad at me, I totally go and ask what I did, unless I don't know them, but I probably won't notice if I offended someone I don't know as well. And then she's like, on the other hand, I don't bring anything anyone ever does to offend me. No, you don't. And I honestly, Julia, I don't understand how you would be offensible to anyone. You are so easygoing. I don't think you've ever offended me like once. Of course, I'm not easily offended. But honestly, you have such an easygoing, gentle personality. I don't think you've ever offended me. Honestly, I'm being honest. I don't think you have. I look out for you like I'm Mother Bear when it comes to you, because I'm like, you guys better leave Julia alone, because you don't mess with Julia. That's all I'm saying. So, and then teach them to play with everyone, and then teach your kids not to be sensitive or someone who people need to walk on eggshells around. Teach them to be hard to offend. Okay. Because little kids are going to say stupid things. Little kids are going to taunt you, and little kids are going to tease you. We just had this discussion the other day because Lana's 9 and she doesn't like it. And they know that Lana, Allie, they know that we don't play this whole like, Lana likes, I don't know what's the name of someone I don't know. Peter likes Lana. We don't do that because I teach my kids to get along with everyone in a group. And I teach them we are not doing this boy girl liking thing until you're over 18. So get that out of your head. It's not, but that doesn't mean you shun boys. I want you talking with them in a group setting. So she was saying that some people were picking on her because someone threw a ball to her that was a boy or something. And I was like, and she's like, how do I even get them to stop? And I said, well, you can just nicely say, you know, no, don't tease me like that. We don't do that. I don't like him. He's just my friend. And she said, okay, she'll try that next time. So I'm hoping she will, because it's good to teach your children. It's not mean to say things like that to other children. It's good to teach your children boundaries. We teach them boundaries with people when it comes to their own body and people not taking liberties with that. And I think we can do it the same with everything when it comes to not taking liberties with just teasing about things we don't even do in our family, about the whole boy-girl relationship. They shouldn't have to, they should be able to say something about that. So that's why I told her. So we'll see. But yeah, teaching kids how to interact with members of the opposite sex. So friendship in a group setting is okay. This is what we tell our kids. Friendship is okay. We encourage friendship, but singling out one person is not. So if you start only thinking about that person, only talking about that person, only wanting to be around that person, that could indicate a problem. So we do have dating rules in our home. So I would encourage you, even as you have younger children, establish with your husband what those guidelines are going to be. When are we going to allow dating? Are we going to allow our 13-year-old to talk to a boy? I hope not. But are we going to allow our 13-year-old? Are we going to allow them at 14? Are we going to allow them at 15? What about 16, 17, 18? When are we going to allow it? And then what is that going to be? Are they going to be allowed to text? Are they going to be allowed to have private conversation? Are they going to be allowed to have phone calls? Are they going to be allowed to go on chaperone dates? And when is that? I would actually get some established guidelines, because once they get to 13, 14, that's usually when they start noticing members of the opposite sex. And that's when they're going to start having an interest. And if there's absolutely no guidelines, they're not going to know. They're going to be confused. They're not going to know what to do. So establish dating rules. Obviously in our home, it's over 18. You don't have to do things like our home. We do things based in our home off of our own life, off of our own experiences when we were teenagers, and off of experiences that we've already had with some of our kids. So it used to be a little more loose until a few years ago, and now it's a hard line in our home. You will not date until you're over 18. Dating is private conversations. I talked a little bit about this in my talk with Jen Bay, but private conversations, phone calls, you're officially boyfriend, girlfriend, you go on chaperone dates. That's what I consider dating. So as long as you're getting to know them in a group setting, I don't mind. I don't mind my 16-year-old daughter talking to another boy in a group setting. As long as it's friendship, but this whole like private communication, messaging stuff will not happen at that age. So those are our dating rules. Your home could look different than mine. Maybe you're a little more loose. That's totally fine. That's your home. I'm just telling you based off my experience and why. I feel like anytime before 18, they are not ready emotionally or mentally to handle serious relationships. Teach them how to have solid friendships with girls, with people their own age during that time. That's a good way to establish friendships and things at that age. And they're going to have enough to learn just by doing that. And then teach them how to talk and interact with others, members, if they're a girl, with girls and with boys. And then no private conversation. I already covered that, but then teach them to enjoy being kids. And then Julia said, we want our kids to wait until 21 to start spouse seeking, and girls 19, I think is what we settled on. So I would start telling them that from the time they're about 11, 12. Be like, this is what we want for you in our home. This is what we want to do. We want you to focus on this right now. We want you to focus on, learning a trade, learning how you're going to support your family. And girls, we want you to focus on friendships. You need to enjoy yourself. You need to, and Abby's taking full advantage of that. She is, taking a few trips here and there. She realizes that she's not always going to be, able to just fly somewhere. So she's doing that now. She told me she wants me to go to Ireland with her next year, to our friend's house in Ireland. So I don't know. I might start saving up for that too. So, and she does have a boyfriend, but she's very balanced when it comes to it. I really appreciate that about her. She's not obsessive. He's not obsessive. They live their own lives while waiting for that next step. So I really appreciate that about both of them. And then teach them to enjoy being kids. You only get to be a kid once, and then you get married and you've got all this responsibility. So we try to hammer that into our kids' heads. There's so much like teenage sorrow and angst and like anxiety. And does he like me this week? Does he not like me this week? Oh, I need to do this because he's going to stop liking me. And then girls and boys get obsessed with that. And it's like, it takes over their life. So responsibility will come soon enough. There will be time for that when they're older. So then how do we teach them, and how do we be approachable when it comes to making friends, being a friend? How are we approachable? So look, one thing that I try to do is when I'm in any group setting, I'm an extrovert to the max. So I can go up to anyone. It could be a complete stranger and talk to them, get their whole life story out of them. Actually, I don't know why people feel comfortable with telling me their whole life story, but they do. Maybe I just asked the right questions. I don't know. So I'll scan the crowd and I'll look for the one who's all alone, who I can tell feels out of place or feels conspicuous. So I'll look for the one that's all alone and I'll go sit by them. I'll try to be their friend. I'll try to talk to them. We have a couple ladies in church who are really good about doing that too. They really connect with like visitors and things very well. And that actually makes my job easier. I mean, it's not a job. I'm just saying that loosely because I always want people to feel welcome. I always want people to feel included. So I'm always scanning in the crowd and looking for that one. No, you're not wrong, Julia. I asked the right questions. She said, you just have one of those faces. I do. And everyone always thinks they know me from somewhere. I don't know why. They're like, do I know you? I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I've never seen you in my life, but okay. But I get asked that everywhere. Airports, bus stops, grocery stores, everywhere. I get asked that. Any conference or meeting I go to in the Baptist circle, people think they know me. So, and yes, I do. So Julia calls it pushy. Probably is. But yes, I will just ask. I'm not good at chit chatting. I'm not good at small talk. I'm sorry. So I like to get to the meat of the matter. Chit chat is very boring to me. I don't really want to talk about the weather. I don't really want to talk about the frost that's coming. Boring. So I tend to get to the meat of the matter. So maybe that's why people tell me their whole life story because I ask. I don't know. I guess maybe. But yeah, be available for your friends. So look for the one all alone. We have a lot of ladies that are really good about that here. Be their friend. Be available for them. Give them your number if they're not a crazy stalker or something, because that's happened before too. But, use discretion. So be available for them to get a hold of you. Dig in deep wherever you are. I can't emphasize this enough. There's so many, no one establishes roots anymore. We live in America. It is so easy to list your house and be moved out in 3 weeks. It will probably sell because the housing market, houses are going like that. Your house will probably sell in like 2 days. So we have the ability to list our house and move. And people are so discontent. Discontentment is at an all-time high. And so they're always looking for the greener grass on the other side of the fence, right? So no one is establishing roots. And friendships take years. Usually it's the ones that like become this is a red flag. If someone comes in your life and like they are declaring you their best friend ever after like 1 month of talking. The ones that get super attached to you are usually the ones that are moving here, moving there, going here, going to this church, going to that church. And then after they cut you off, you're like the worst thing ever, right? So friendships don't happen that way. Friendships take years and years and years and years and years to cultivate. And that's why it's really hard for me just to throw away a friendship, because I realize all the work and effort that I put into it, that they put into it, that we both put into it. So be pleasant. Just be pleasant. There have been a lot of people come through churches in my past where I could feel the tension being around them. Like it was like walking on eggshells, and I had to be so careful. I had to pretty much just not speak because anything I said could and would be used against me. And I did feel like I was in a courtroom all the time or people were just looking for fault. And I tend to shut down when that happens because I don't want to be the reason that people get mad. And so I tend to just be very cautious, but I can feel the tension. And so I never want to be one of those people that's like that, where people feel like they have to walk on eggshells around me. And I don't want my kids to grow up that way. And so I try to teach my kids to be very approachable and non-offendable. And, your friend didn't mean to hurt your feelings. They were just having a bad day and you were just there at the wrong time. And, I'm always trying to smooth over like things. And throughout our years, my husband and I have actually kind of been a peacemaker in a group. And of course, it's gotten us in trouble too, because we'll defend those friendships. We'll stick our necks out and defend the friendship too. But we're always trying to, give this person another chance. They're not as bad as what you're saying. And a lot of times we've gotten burned by that same person that we're defending. But it's better to be the one defending people and trying to smooth things over than trying to cause the contention and strife. So smiling. Just be smiling, be approachable, teach your kids to smile, to be pleasant, to be approachable. Think the best of people. Don't think the worst of them. Don't nitpick everything. Don't be judgmental. Don't be looking in their homes and judging everything about their homes is different than yours. I try to get through my kids' heads when they'll be like, this person does this. This person does this. I'll be like, you know what? That's their home, not our home. And I don't care if they do it in our home. We're not. Or sometimes it will be like, I don't care if they don't do it in our home. We don't see that there is a problem with this. So I try to get them to focus on what God wants you to do, not what everyone else in their home is doing. So yes, good verse, Beth. She said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Being peacemaker, not causing division, not causing strife, not causing contention, is all throughout the Bible. So we need to try to be that way, and we need to try to teach our kids to be that way. And then find ways to make new friends. If you're having a hard time making friends, if your kids are having a hard time making a friend, maybe you need to try to see if there's homeschooling moms of like faith in your area that you could do stuff about. Social media is a great tool for finding like-minded people. Maybe you need to look at churches near you and see if they have any family camps that you can go to. Every year, the camp that we go to, every year we invite another family to come up for the week and then go to family camp with us. And it's just a really good way to get to know them, to have them preach in our church, to get to know our people. The 2 years ago, we had the Boyle family. This last year, we had the Ofuebu family. And my husband already asked another pastor family from Kentucky. He already asked them to come with next year to family camp. So this is a new family I've never even met before, but I know it'll go well, and I'll love being around them and getting to know them and getting to know their kids. They've got kids. So we're always looking at ways to make new friends. My husband and I have always said that we're pretty easy. We'll pretty much fellowship or associate with people who will fellowship with us. So if they don't want to, then we won't. But we'll pretty much, we're not super picky about someone's eschatology or, someone's associations or whatever. So, and then also, invest in the friendships that you do have and be careful to burn bridges. This is a big one. And teach your kids to be careful to burn bridges, because I like having friends. And because friendships take so long and so much time and so much work, I want to keep my friends around me. I'm almost the age where at 42, and I've said this before, I'm really happy and content with the friends in my life. And I love my friends. And I know they're there for me. And I know they've got my back and they're loyal and they haven't thrown me under the bus. And I find that very special and rare in today's day and age, where everything is canceled. Everything's being canceled, even friendships and marriages and churches and whatever, people. So I love that. I love the friends. I love who I'm surrounded with. I love my little group of women at our church. And of course, I hope we get more. And if we get more, we'll extend our arms even further and we'll welcome them in into our little tribe, our little circle. But I really am very content and happy with where I'm at in life. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to ever make new friends. So I'm open to making new friends too. So I hope this helped. I hope you can friendship with our kids, it's a hard one for moms because I think too, if you struggle to make friends, it's almost like when you see your child struggling, you're like, oh no, are they going to be like me for their whole life? And, are they going to have this, I don't know, are they going to be able to have that kindred spirit with someone else? And I think it's hard for us to watch our kids struggle. But I think if you model friendship to your kids, they're going to be a lot more apt to also be able to be friendly and pick up friends. What's the verse, Beth, that talks about a man that hath friends must show himself friendly? It's true. We can't sit at home in our own little bubble, never reaching out, having a chip on our shoulder, mad about everything, mad at the world, mad at all these offenses that they don't even know about, and then whine and moan and wonder why we don't have friends. So we have to be involved. We have to be available. We have to be around. We have to be friendly. We have to be the ones to reach out sometimes. So, if you're an introvert, that can be a little harder, but think about how it's good for your introverted kids to also see that. Abby talks all the time about how she's so glad I've pushed her from the time she was little, because she would not have the friends that she has now. So yeah, I can find common ground with almost anyone, and anyone can find common ground with almost anyone, especially if they're saved. Just if they're saved, if they're visiting, ask them about their testimony, ask them how they found your church, ask them what their interests are. My dad was the king at that. He was a major extrovert, and he was the king at just like, maybe that's where I get it, but someone could come in and my dad would be like, he would know everything about him by the time that they left. So I think that's probably where I get it from, because he was like that. And he had, at his funeral, there were a few hundred people. It was packed out because everyone knew Dan Cutler, and everyone, loved him and his personality, and that he was a friend to everyone. And that's what they called him. He was just a friend to everyone. So I think we should strive for that in our life and in our kids' lives as well. Thank you, Beth. A man that hath friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. And of course, we know who that is. So, all right, ladies, thanks for joining. I'm going to cut it off now. I still went an hour. I can't go less than an hour, apparently. So, all right, it's time for me to head home because it's been a busy day of ministry things. So I hope you have a lovely week. Look for the giveaway, enter into the giveaway. If you have not yet, it's on the latest short. I'm going to do that tonight. And then look for the video from Jen Bay's, the Bay Home, B-E-H, the B-E-H, Bay Home. And then go watch it if you want to, or just wait for the premiere on here. So go subscribe to her if you have not yet. So we will talk to you next week. All right. And Asher, yes, we will. That's all right. We will pray for that. So Asher asked for prayer for the opportunity to go to church and to get baptized. And we will keep that in prayer. So thank you for leaving that comment and that prayer request. And we'll see you all next week.